I really pray for the Spirit to help me this afternoon in the few minutes that I have to spend with you. There has been a battle raging for the last 3 or 4 days, and I began now to understand why it was when I came in and looked out over the group to see someone has tried really hard to take it away from me. I've had it going for so long that someone worked really hard to get it away from me. And it was after much prayer, fasting, and some sincere introspection, it all kind of fell together this morning. And I know what it is I'm supposed to do here this afternoon. I'm supposed to send every one of you out wearing one of these bionic transmitters. And I've got enough here. There's even enough here that not only can you wear one, but you can take one for somebody else. But the reason you're supposed to take it, and the reason that I'm going to do what I'm doing here, is one that it's an honor for me to be able to bear witness to. I've been privileged to be used as an instrument in the Lord's hand to bring the most important people that the Lord has ever sent on the face of the earth to an awareness of a responsibility. Now, why he selected me, I don't know. But he did. And he's given me, in the course of my childhood, and which is still well in process, the opportunities to develop some ideas and approaches that not a lot of other people use. And all of a sudden, discovered that this crazy off-the-wall approach to discussing gospel principles is a way to reach the most important people that need to hear it. And I have been privileged to help people all over the United States, many here, rediscover who they are and the real source of the force in the latter days. Now, people come in all the time, and you can tell by looking at somebody if they've got it or if they've lost it. We live in horror that someone might look at us and say, he had it once, but it's just not there anymore. Or worse yet is to be where you're supposed to be, and then have the horrible thought come across your mind that even though I'm where I ought to be today, I may be losing it and not even be aware. Now, this source of the force was introduced first to us in the New Testament. It came by way of counsel to you and I. And if you want to read later, chapter 5 of Matthew, in verses, 13 through 16 give the whole idea, but the one that I want to focus in on is beginning with verse 14, where it says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that's set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light to all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." This light and how we let it shine is the key to this, what you see and feel when you interact with people. Someone who's got it is letting their light shine. Someone who's lost it has let factors come into their life which is taking that light and putting it out. Someone who's lost it has let things turn the light totally off. Now, I found it easy for me to visualize the battle we were fighting because I was so impressed the first time I ever heard the story about the crickets coming into the valley. I used to have nightmares about crickets coming into the valley, eating everything. And that old movie that every once in a while you can get where you saw them out there frantically fighting those insects maybe gave birth to this idea that it's almost as if right now we're being invaded. That there are thousands of little insects coming in and singling out You, the dynamic examples of the restored gospel in these last days, and sinking their fangs into your bodies and then filling it with a poison which sucks it out of you to the point that people see you and they don't know what it is that sets you apart and makes you special. Now, it helps me to visualize. Let's even name what we're fighting here. It's got a name. Let's call it the fades syndrome, because of the effect that it has on you and your light. That fantastic attitude and enthusiasm that you, the dynamic examples of the gospel, have, doesn't go all at once. It is gradually, ever so gradually, seeped away. And then if we're not careful, a meeting place such as this, where we are, can be declared a disaster area. Because we got people here right now who are losing it and don't even know it. You're probably sitting by someone right at this moment. Now don't upset them. Don't upset them. Just out of the corner of your eyes, kind of glance at them. Person on your left and on your right. If they look like they normally look, then they may be okay, and you may be the one that's in trouble, because once again, the principle of three comes to play in our existence down here. We lost a third before we made it to this mortal existence. And down here right now, 1 out of 3 of us here are losing it, and we don't even know it. We don't even know it. The beauty of all of this is that we can discover how we lose it. And I'm going to, before I can put that mystical transmitter on you, I've got to train you how to become what we call symptom identifiers. And I bear witness to you once you've been introduced to the symptoms. There's 7 of them, and they're all things you can see, hear, or feel as you interact with each other. When you know what they are, then you're going to be overcome with this urge to stop those people that you know and care for and say, "Dear brother, dear sister, you're losing it, and I've come here to help you get it back." And if you'll do that, then you'll live up to that responsibility of letting your light so shine. If you don't, then you've joined the ranks of the bushel people, the ones running around, spotting those who have it and putting bushels over them, so the light does not shine. Now, how do we lose it? Symptom number 1, the first place that it goes is from our eyes. From our eyes. We lose it from our eyes. You can watch it go. Look at that left eye of your friend. It's all watery and red. You think he got it from studying? No. It's starting to go from the eyes. It'll move from the left eye over into the right eye. And that glazed, stunned, stoned expression you see is your sign. This person has lost it and doesn't know it. Now, everybody looks glazed, stunned during this time of the quarter. Some even say, no, it's a stoned expression in their eyes. And that's the way everyone looks, not realizing what we were taught in the Scriptures. The light of the body is the eye. Soul touches soul. Spirit bears witness to spirit through eye contact. Now test yourself with the people you care the most about. When you talk to them this afternoon, don't look anywhere but in their eyes, and then sustain eye contact. If they start to squirm and get uncomfortable, then you've lost it and you didn't know it from your eyes. One of the most powerful tools we have to share the light of the gospel is those powerful, powerful eyes. Bishops use them all the time. And if you've ever had the privilege to look into the eyes of one of the brethren, you know what I'm talking about. You feel the soul through our eyes. Now that's the way the first symptom goes. Symptom number 2, this horrible poison, goes through what we call a trickle-down effect. Moves from the eyes down into selected areas of the face. And it seems to isolate only a certain group of muscles, and those muscles that control our spontaneous ability to look like we're glad to be alive. Happy to be a member of the mortal race. And what happens, instead of that spontaneous and continuous look, light in our face, the poison pulls the corners of the mouth down, corners of the eyes down, the light from the face becomes a gray, stone-like texture, and we look horrible. We look miserable. And from the distance, we look like we're mad at everybody and unhappy. You know what that does to someone when they'll come up to me and look at me with their glazed eyes and then with a stone face and say how glad they are to see me, how loved I feel, how happy I feel about that encounter? We lose it from our... You say, what's the deal with the face here again? Old Testament, lift thou the light of thy face, Psalms 4:6. Acts chapter 2:28, thou shalt make me full of joy with your face, your countenance. And then the Savior is described in the book of Mormon, 3 Nephi 19:25. When he appeared, what did they say? The light of his face did shine. I'm sure he glowed, but I'll bet you when you looked in his face, you felt it just by looking. Now we lose it from our eyes, our face. Can we possibly lose it anywhere else? Oh yes, symptom number 3. The poison now goes in and takes it from our voice. That instrument that we have to preach, teach, exhort, declare, or let our light so shine through the words that we say. That instrument that we use to kindle the light in other people. It has the power, if used correctly, to build, inspire, and motivate, help people discover who they are and why they're here, and feel good about being alive, if used correctly. But when the poison comes in, the desire to use it is diminished. And we don't say the positive things anymore. In fact, we begin to minimize our conversation. And then almost as if a mockery to you and I, we begin to project the most hideous form of communication I've ever witnessed. Call it the guttural grunt, groan, and snort syndrome. And you may have heard it. How's it going? End of discussion. Doesn't that tell you a lot? Doesn't that tell you a lot? We grunt, groan, and snort our way into misunderstanding, misinterpretations, and we cannot let other people feel it when we lose it from our voice. It has such a capacity to do so much good. I really fear the future of our civilization if we don't get it back in the voice. I see boy and girl all the time on campus, and it's exciting to watch you kind of get together when the sap starts to run and you forget you're in school. It's beautiful to watch the exchanges, but it panics me to see it in the halls. Beautiful young lady comes in and she's got it, I can tell, because everybody notices her coming. And the young man looks up with more intensity than another, and we all stand back and say, here's another one of those magic moments. Little family unit's about to be formed, here we can tell. And as they get closer, we begin to panic because we see the symptoms. He's lost it from his eyes, he's lost it from his face, and by the time he gets up to her, what profound thing comes out of this instrument to build and edify? He looks at her, and she goes on to more interesting areas, and another family didn't get formed. We are counseled in the Scriptures that it is by the power of the Holy Ghost that our tongues are loosed, and that through our mouths will that gospel be taught. Isn't it interesting that a way to defeat the dynamic example is to just lose it from our voice? Symptom number 4. The poison now goes in lightning fast speed to the major reason for our existence here. The gaining and learning to control and use properly the physical body. One of the discoveries of our time and the technology that we have is the incomprehensible capacity we have to talk to each other just by being physically in each other's presence. Some claim you can measure as high as 800,000 forms of nonverbal communication. That means I can let my light so shine without ever opening my mouth if you see me and I see you. That means the most powerful tool for letting our light shine is this body and how we use it. Now, isn't it interesting that the next place we would lose it then would be from that body? We walk like we're dead. We move like we wish we were dead. we sit down and fight the urge to horizontalize. And from the distance you see the dynamic examples, not looking, not smiling, not speaking to each other, and moving like zombies of indifference and apathy. Is it any wonder that the doors aren't opened to those that would go out with the message of the restored gospel? Glazed eyes, stone faces, groaning and snorting, zombies of indifference. The most powerful tool we have is the one where we lose it next, our body. It can bear witness to this message just by it being there. The tragedy is that when that poison has taken it away from us there, whenever the nonverbal contradicts the verbal message, the person remembers what they feel, and the feeling comes from the nonverbal. And if it's in contradiction, we're actually defeating, working against his cause to build in the last days. We've lost it from our eyes, face, voice, and bod. And if you don't think we have not lost it, and it's epidemic, look out there when you go after this. Walk up the street to the first kid you see, smile at him. Say, gee, it's good to see you. Isn't it a beautiful day? And watch the reaction. I've emptied elevators by just smiling and speaking to people. And the greatest insult was coming to work, trying to get excited about things. I stopped at an intersection in the car next to me. The person was losing it, I could tell. They looked horrible. So I smiled and said, how you doing? And the gesture I got back is inappropriate to demonstrate here. We've lost it, and they're losing it. Losing it every day. People need help. Now you take these symptoms and put them with the next one, which is the most horrible of all, and that is this voice now, this ability we have to express and build and edify each other with what we say, gets contaminated. And it's done so deceptively that we don't even know that it's happened. We'll find creeping in to the vocabulary of the people who have lost it an increase in the frequency of negative and critical comments and observations. And it's so subtle. It's so subtle that you don't even know that it's happened. And it manifests itself through put-downs, slams, cuts, barbs. And we're doing it in fun. Yeah, I call you a jerk, but you're my best friend. Put-downs, slams. The Lord had a name for this, and it was called murmuring. And his counsel is so potent on that. Doctrine and Covenants 9:6, do not murmur. 75th section, 7th verse, I chasten him for the murmurings of his heart. And yet we entertain ourselves. Watch masters every night, comedians who get us to laugh because they can cut, slam, degrade, embarrass each other. Anything we hold in high regard or respect. And then we get tricked into doing such things as honoring people by roasting them. We have an unbelievable capacity to communicate with this body, and we communicate through feeling. And even though it's done in jest and we laugh at the time, we personalize those negative feelings. And that's why so many people wake up depressed and down and feel like nobody cares whether they live or die. Symptom number 6. The center that brings you and I to these types of activities, that feeling center that makes us care about other people, gets numbed. And the feeling is strong there, but it turns inside. And we don't feel anything now except concern for ourselves. What's in it for me? What'll I get out of it? And this me first attitude sets us up for symptom number 7, which is a verbalization, which is a mockery. A mockery to this exalted generation, noble and great ones. A mockery. An expression that comes out that undercuts everything that our Savior represents. And it ought to go on that list that if you say you get one of those special meetings with your mother or father about, the ones my mom used to come to with ivory soap and a brush. She cured me of a lot of horrible things to say. And it stayed all these years. I freak out in the soap section of a supermarket. As soon as I smell ivory, my mouth starts to water. And I'm saying, I'll never say it again, Mom, honest. Watch this phrase, and I'll bet when you hear it, it'll amaze you how frequently it's used. Here's the phrase, I don't care. I don't care. Can you conceive of one saved to come at a time when the greatest work ever outlined for the building of the kingdom, when the greatest effort ever made in the history of this world was to be done? Can you conceive of one of those chosen ones saved for this day to ever utter, I don't care? And yet, we've done it. Now, it's not our fault. We've been tricked into it. We've been poisoned. We've been deceived. And I came prepared to give you a visual symbol of what it is we're fighting. I told you we had bugs. Only this one has a name that ought to insult us. It's being called the Utah dead fly. And there are those amongst us who claim that it is a mutation from the first set of bugs that came in here to wipe us out. This one's smarter, though. It goes to you and bites you and takes your ability to care out of you. And now, when we lose the capacity to care, we join the ranks of the adversary, because that's his most powerful tool. Can you see the cunning of that strategy? Take the most valiant and just remove from them the desire to be concerned or caring. Let everybody else go out and chase the bushel people that are trying to be very obvious in their attacks against us, and worry about them. But the real threat is within the four walls of our own homes. Those traits that indicate that we don't care. Now, a great and wise prophet was taught a strategy to help us warn each other in a way that wouldn't offend us. And it's interesting to me to note that the strategy came and is used now, today, classified as advertising. But it was first introduced in the Old Testament. You may not believe that, and if you don't, then read Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses 19 on through, and look what the Lord told Moses to do to protect his people. Now, it doesn't say advertise, but it outlines the advertising strategy. What he tells him to do there is what's being used today on you and I to change our whole approach to life. And it gets us to do things, and we feel good about doing it, and we're not even aware that we've been told to do it. He told him to use a medium, music. Music which has the capacity to put an idea in a person's mind with such force because of the emotional tie-in with the idea. Music because music uses rhythm, which accelerates our ability to retain things. Music because it uses repetition. And the advertisers know that repetition, if we get that right number and preparing for the finals, write this down, 80 reps and it's yours forever. You read it 80 times and you'll never forget it. And the classic example of its power is through commercials. Watch this, what comes to your mind. How do you spell relief? Repetition, put it there. Music has rhythm and repetition. But then put it to you in a different way, an unexpected way, a creative way, and you never forget it. Now I can show you very quickly how that works with a short commercial. Now, if you turn to that person that you've been seated next to who's losing it, and you tell them directly, you're losing it, dear brother, they may turn around and punch your lights right out. So instead, I suggest that you give them a short, little commercial message. Just turn to them, and in your best voice, let rhythm, music, repetition, and the power of the creative approach tell them the real threat. Try this. Be aware, in the air, over there, here comes the old dead fly. Dreaded bite, you must fight, you must care the poison of the old dead fly. Now you'll get an emotional response from them, I guarantee. You haven't offended them. In fact, they're going to listen with more intensity to what it is you're trying to say to them. You've involved them emotionally. And yes, it didn't matter that it was not one of those emotional songs like the one we heard just before I got up here. Makes me cry every time I hear that. I get a lump in my throat and tears in my eyes. This one, just as effective, made you sick. Gave you the urge to regurge. But because it gives you an emotional experience, the idea stays. The idea stays. And it'll stay with you for a frightening amount of time. I've tested it in a lot of places. The most vivid example of it came in an airport, in a snack area. You want to go see laboratories of indifference and apathy, spend some time in an airport. And you see people ignoring people. People who won't even look at people. People who won't even smile at people. They've lost it. Well, I went to try and find it in a snack area, and a dear sister, happened to be a gorgeous one too, turned around, and as she went to take my order, I noticed probably the most classic case of the fade syndrome I'd ever seen in my life. Glazed eyes, stone face, never said a word, just kind of laid there and uglied me over the counter. I almost said, young lady, your indifference and apathy is so offensive, I'm losing my appetite. Direct approach. Instead, I took it out of the guitar case and gave her a commercial. Beware, in the air. And in seconds, she turned into someone who had it. Her eyes got as big as saucers. Her whole body began to project excitement, enthusiasm, and concern, and she moved from behind the counter right up to where I was. And I could tell that her enthusiasm was contagious because several people gathered around, and now I had the chance to really tell them about what we're fighting. Dead fly poison is a danger not easy to see. If not treated, it will bring the end to you and me. Fills your body with indifference and apathy. Not a very pleasant sight for anyone to see. Now, there was a guy in the back with a straw hat on and boots going, ah! I mean, he really felt it. He bought in. And for a moment, we had what sounded like a mini Mormon tabernacle choir as everyone got into the concern. Beware, in the air over there, here comes the old dead fly. Dreaded bite, you must fight, you must care, the poison of the old dead fly. Now, I risked a lot by doing that, with the hope that the radical approach might register the 7 concerns that I've just expressed. It would please me no more than to have you look at me for the rest of your life and think of the dead fly. If you'd remember that it's the only thing that can take it away from you, unless you protect yourself. And there's where the transmitter comes in. The mystical little yellow button that you know to be the transmitter. And I brought enough for everybody here. Now, if you don't need one, please pick one up for the person you're seated next to. And in a loving way, give it to him as you leave. Don't embarrass him by pointing it out. Look, I'm giving him a transmitter because he's lost it. Don't do that. Just subtly hand it to him, and then don't be hurt if as you hand that to your friend, you notice that they picked up one for you. Because many times it's the people that we associate with the closest that will be the first to notice when we begin to lose it. Now, what does it get its power? Here's where I'm just so grateful for this day. To let everyone know where it came from. This isn't my idea. It came right out of the Scriptures. Bionic is a code word. It's an advertising application to 1 Corinthians 13. Charity, the pure love of Christ. Only I put a little advertising to it and condensed it down to one phrase that says it all. Bionic stands for, believe it or not, I care. It's the only way I know of to protect you from the poison of indifference and apathy. Now, the way to make it work is simple. You get one, pick it up, and notice that we designed it with an attachment mechanism here on the back so you can put it in your clothes, wear it. Just slides right through the fabric of your clothing. If you need harsh dosages, straighten the back part up and drive it in. But wear it, and then let your light so shine. Anybody who sees it, don't put it under a bushel. You tell them what it stands for. Believe it or not, I care. And that's the essence of the gospel, caring. That's the message we're supposed to take out to the 4 corners of the world. There's a group of people who really care. And then after you say it, do something that shows that you do care. Wear it, verbalize, demonstrate, and then if you want it to stay with you, maximize those 80 reps by putting it on, and don't take it off for the next 30 days. I don't dare take mine off. Every time I do, the bug gets me. And I find myself moping around, acting like I don't care. I've got it everywhere. I've got it everywhere because I never want to lose it. Because the gospel in action is showing that we care. Through our eyes, through our face, through what we say, through our body, through how we interact with each other, and what we say and do to each other. And if we can reach the point that we show everyone that we care, we will reach the potential that we were sent here to do. Now, I take desperate strengths to get that message across. And I know this is a special service, but I just want to open your imaginations to the possibilities. Let you know that you don't have to be limited. It's impossible for me to conduct the working affairs of my day without letting people see the light, because my bionic shirt makes it happen. If I miss them frontwards, now you can't see in the back, but the message on the back says, guess which part of me is bionic? Now that's an invitation to a discussion to show people how they can get it back in their lives. Now in the 2 seconds I have left, I want to close with my testimony, and I put it to song. And I wrote it just before I came down here. And I'm praying with all my heart that the Lord will help me remember it. Because if not, this could be a disastrous way to end this wonderful time together. But it goes like this. Show me that you care. Show me with your eyes. Show me with your smile. Please don't disguise. I need to hear special words that say, I'm looking everywhere for someone who cares. I feel it, I see it everywhere I go. People are starving. They must know. They don't know how. I must help them show. Go out and share the power when we care. Life's greatest tragedy, I hope we all can see, comes if we allow people like you and me to feel all alone, like we're struggling on our own. This feeling won't be there if we show we care. Let your light so shine, all the world can see, everyone can know. Peace and joy can be. Let your little light It has to start with one. Kindle love's great flame. I know it can be done. I feel it, I see it everywhere I go. People are starving to know. They don't know how, but now I know, and the way I'll show. I'll go out and share the power when I care. Would be my humble prayer you'll take this transmitter and let your light so shine. And I leave it with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.